Good morning and good afternoon and good evening from wherever you're connecting. My name is Manish, and I will be facilitating this webinar on the topic of the new P2P, which is prompt to procure. All right. So welcome everyone. I'm just going to look at the people still joining in. Let's give them a few seconds. The people still joining in, let's give them a few seconds. Yeah. We have quite a few people here. Just looking at the list. All right, very good. Yeah, still popping in. You're going to start in a few seconds. Okay, excellent, good. All right, so we're going to go through this webinar in around 45 to 50 minutes. As you can see, here's the agenda. We'll be following this agenda. In the beginning, I'm just going to give you a brief on AI and Gen AI. Okay, the difference that between AI and Gen AI. We are going to talk about AI in procurement in particular, right? Today, that's the idea. AI in procurement. Some use cases, the different areas in which you could apply these methodologies in procurement, in the procurement world. We are going to look at prompting. Okay, so I earlier we used to call this prompt engineering, but more so we are just renaming it to prompt to procure because, to be frank, it's not necessarily a very complex word like engineering when it comes to prompting, but it's we will see some of the good practices that can help you get good results from the AI. Okay, so we're going to look at some prompts. We will take a couple of examples, maybe from you, from the people who are attending the webinar, and we'll try to run a live demo just to show you what could be some of the results that come out of a good prompt. Okay, and then we will conclude with if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take those towards the end. All right, so that's the brief 45 to 50 minutes that we'll spend together, and then the Q&A for a few minutes if at all you have any questions. All right, please utilize the chat where you can pose your comments or questions, and my good friend and colleague Eric, he's behind the screens, he's moderating the chat, and he will be moderating and sending the messages across to me, which I can answer later on. All right. Thank you very much. Let's move on. So let's look at the first topic, AI and Gen AI. All right. So just it's a very simple representation of the AI universe, because whenever I talk to people, there is always a confusion. There's a mixture of the very notion of AI and Gen AI. So this is just a very, very simple representation of how this AI universe looks. Okay, so when we talk about artificial intelligence, AI in general, we are talking about this huge circle, a big umbrella or a superset, right? And within that, we have machine learning. Okay, then we have deep learning. I wouldn't get into the technicalities of all, but just to show you where what fits in. Okay, so you have machine learning, you have deep learning, and then we have generative AI here. Okay, so it's one of the subsets, you can call that, subsets of the entire AI universe. It's very simple representation. There are certain subtleties to it in some differences, but we won't have to get into those details. This is a good enough solution to say that Gen AI is then a subset of the overall AI universe. All right, and then you have the large language models, you have small language models, and so on and so forth, which are also now in development. In fact, for that matter, every week there's something new. I won't even say every month, but every week there's something new. There's new developments happening in this world. So this can rapidly change over a period of time. All right, but just for you, as for those who are uninitiated to this fact, Gen AI here is one of the subsets that we can see in the AI universe. Okay, to give you a short difference between Gen AI and AI, so it purely in terms of definition, we know AI, artificial intelligence, is the simulation of human intelligence. Okay, it encompasses three main things: learning, reasoning, and self-correction. Okay, learning, reasoning, and self-correction. So here's a simple example. I pulled out an analogy to share with you a possible difference, between AI and Gen AI. Imagine two scenarios. The first one being that you're playing a game of chess with the computer. Okay, the computer is trained. It has been fed with millions and billions of possibilities of what to move when the opponent moves in a certain fashion, right? So this is a very classical case of AI where you have some information which is already being fed in, trained, etc., and the AI responds in a particular manner to a stimulus, which is the move the opponent makes. Okay, just hold that thought in mind now. Let's come to Gen AI. The name itself, it talks about generative AI, and I've just showed here you a picture of Harry Potter. Okay, let's say you want the AI to write a story. Let's say you say, I want to write a story of Harry Potter and the Order of Phoenix, but you want it to be based in space, okay, or on Mars or Jupiter or wherever. Okay, so this never happened before. Right? This never happened before. The AI is trained with a lot of data. It has a lot of data sets. It has a lot of information from history, etc., etc. But now it is encountering something new that it wants to give an answer or create a text or an article about Harry Potter and the Order of Phoenix set in space. So it's going to generate content, right? It's going to generate content which is completely new, right, which is completely new and it was not created before. And now there is, of course, this technology behind on how it generates, on predictions and so on and so forth. But that's one of the very simple ways to differentiate between AI, which is the general universe, and Gen AI, which is very specific of generating new content in the AI universe. Okay, so just to give you a very quick difference between AI and Gen AI. Now, when it generates new content, when it generates information, etc., one thing that we need to be very careful about, and this is what we have been also telling people, that a lot of the time the AI models hallucinate. Okay, where when I say hallucinations, they generates outputs that can sound very plausible but are incorrect. Okay, so you need to be a little bit careful about believing everything that today's models give as outputs. Okay, they sound very plausible because when they do not find information, they try to fill in that gap by something which is creative, right? So they might sound plausible, they have data, they look at facts, etc. But whenever there are gaps that they cannot address, they tend to create new information, right? That's why they're generative, which are not necessarily correct. Okay, so something that you need to be careful about, a warning that we always say that, they are still probabilistic models and they can hallucinate. Okay, and especially in complex tasks or very specific technological topics, innovation topics, very, very specific, they can generate content which is not necessarily correct. Okay. So this is just to give you an idea of the warning that whenever AI models generate information, they can also hallucinate. Okay, and we'll see how we can address that going forward as well. All right. So that was just a brief overview. Then let's look a little bit more in detail about AI in procurement. Okay, so in AI and procurement, you have I've just done a mapping of a very classical procurement process later on, which I will share. But when we are talking about using Gen AI in procurement, we have seen over a few last few days and few months, and a lot of people use already Gen AI as a search tool, right? Search tool or just as a writing tool or summarizing some things, but you can go beyond that. There is a lot that we can do, and I can share with you the use cases in a few moments, but there's a lot that we can do which goes beyond writing and summarizing. Okay, so there's some examples you could analyze. Okay, for example, very simple, perform a complete Porter's 5 forces analysis on the market. So you can analyze, you can analyze root causes, you can analyze some of the historical patterns in industries and check for an extrapolation for future trends. Okay. Now here again, whenever you're talking about extrapolating to future trends, you have to be a little bit careful about the hallucinations. This is what I said. Okay. So it can be used for analyzing information. Then we are talking about creating options, right? Creating options. So you could have a give an input in such a way that the AI creates options for you, and then the human can choose. Okay, then develop that chosen option further to create further options and so on. Okay, so you could have develop a list of radical and incremental innovation strategies, for example, or different ways to identify, resource efficient ways to achieve. So it's basically giving you options and choices. Okay, so looking at choices, then it can also give, for example, comparing certain options for performance. Okay, or you have multiple options given to it. Can you identify the pros and cons and give a trade-off between option one and option two? What is a good one to go? And if I choose option one, what are the pros and cons of it? If I choose option two, what are the pros and cons? And then it's the human who is going to decide eventually. But all that choices can be received from the AI. Okay, you could also use it for de-risking, right? So maybe you have a category strategy, or maybe you have some strategy in place. You can give that input you can give strategy as the input and ask the AI to, what do you think are some of the hidden assumptions that I have taken in that you have taken, subconsciously in your strategy. So the AI can then brainstorm and present some hidden assumptions, right? Or you could also use it as a stress test. Is this strategy, will this strategy still be valid if if the US places X amount of tariff on this particular country and I have my suppliers in that country, so you can do such kind of information which can be, which we see on a day-to-day basis, impacting business. So you can use it to de-risk. Then and one of the other examples is execute and iterate. So you can do something and suggest for an action plan, for an alternative, or list some of the KPIs. You have plenty of options there that you can do. So it's not necessarily, as you can see, just a search tool, or you could go beyond writing emails or summarizing documents and so on and so forth. You could do a lot with these prompts. Okay, so just go beyond the search tool, use it for market analysis, de-risking, some of the data on ESG, maybe scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. You can go beyond that, and you can get a lot of information from the AI. Okay, so having said that, let's look at, I've just mapped some of the use cases onto a procurement process. Okay, so this is a very simple diagram, let's say, of a schema of a procurement process. You have your demand, supply, and strategy, and then you have source, panel, and action. So in the demand side, you could use it to improve forecasts. Supply side, you could use to improve to get some market insights using porters or any other methods. You could have category strategies. You could have options in category strategies, stress test the category strategies. You could also look for options of cost savings. Let's say you have some data from the supplier. You can input the data and ask the AI to give suggestions about possible cost savings, right? Within the cost breakdown that you have that you have put. You could also generate cost breakdowns if you have not done that. So there's a lot of options that you could do. Faster response times in terms of selecting the panel just from the process of RFI, RFP, RFQ, then getting the quotation, selecting suppliers. You could do all that to bring suppliers faster in your portfolio, onboard them as well. And then you could also work on the contract lifecycle management using some of the tools that you have. Okay, I've just elaborated this on the next slide that I will show you. There's an example again on various areas which we have seen some use cases where people are already using Gen AI. Okay, so if we look at strategic sourcing, so right from writing the statement of work or scope of work, the requirements, you could use it to do functional analysis on products and services. This could be also useful for some of your internal stakeholders who are going to provide you some of these requirements. Then for yourself, it could be writing the RFX documents. Take the help of AI to write the RFX. So it could be request for proposal. You could help the AI could help you to write a request for proposal. So let's say you give some inputs and the AI can spew out a documentation that can help you optimize and improve your performance by saving a lot of time. Okay, you can also have exchanges with the suppliers, clarification. So there are other variations to this. I wouldn't go for this particular webinar. We are not getting there. We are not talking about agentic AI here in this, but a lot of the workflows and processes can also be automated, right? So you can automate some of the exchanges with suppliers. The suppliers might be asking for clarifications after you send across RFQs, and the responses can also be automated. So you could put in some of the systems in place as well. At this stage, if you're not using some of the automated or let's say agentic AIs to do tasks for you, you could also combine it with your inputs, but you can get suggestions from AI and then provide these answers to the suppliers. You could use this to compare suppliers. Let's say you have suppliers giving you responses, right? You have two responses. You want to compare it across various parameters and rate them. You could do that, right? The AI can help you in coming up with a summary and help you do that. Assessing the risk. If you have suppliers responding to you, you can assess the risk. What could be the potential risks coming from this supplier? Okay, let's say the supplier has given you some information about technical aspects. The supplier is located in a particular country. You could have external risks, the internal risks from the supplier. You could upload the supplier financial statements and look at the risks as well, and so on and so forth. So you can see, you can do plenty of risk analysis like this at the click of a button. Okay, so this is about strategic sourcing. The same, you'll have a lot of inputs that when you're doing category management, for example, so you could analyze demand, spend, benchmarking with external industry parameters. You could also do the market scan using porters. This is what we said. Once you have demand and supply, you could generate strategy with scenarios. Ask the AI to generate strategy with this scenario 1, scenario 2, scenario 3, and then you can see the variations that it can give you. You can use the same to then brainstorm and say, I'm choosing scenario 1. What do you think are the pros and cons of scenario 1? Scenario 2, this is the input. What do you think are the pros and cons of scenario 2? And so on. So you can do a lot of stuff with that, right? Assessing the risks as well here for the category. In contracting, it can help you with some of the tools and methodologies to negotiate with suppliers. If your supplier is a monopoly in one particular business of, let's say, in some specific steel parts or some specific casting, specific kind of a service, engineering, consultancy, whatever it is, right? You could give that input and see, I'm in a monopolistic situation. Could you suggest some of these techniques to negotiate with this supplier for this specific industry in this specific region? What could you suggest? So the AI could give suggestions. Of course, then it's up to you to decide what is more relevant, what is not. That is the human intervention that comes. But already it provides you a lot of ideas. You could draft contracts. Very simple. This is one of the common ways a lot of people are using AI. You could draft contracts. You already might have templates in your companies, but if not, you could draft contracts, check it with the legal, and it can give you a good documentation already as a base. Of course, then you can input and make some changes to it, but a good base is already gotten from the AI. You could compare once you send across, let's say you have general terms of purchase, you could compare them with the general terms of sales that the supplier sends you, right? And see which are the good clauses to pick up. So you could do some cherry picking of the clauses and then create a good contract with the supplier and then negotiate further, right? So you could have that as well. Assessing risks in contracts and mitigate them as well. What could be the potential risks? What are the possible ways in which the supplier could breach? How do I mitigate them, and so on and so forth. So you can see a lot of benefits here. And then a little bit more on supplier relationship management. This is what I said. You could use your regular AI, or if you have agentic AIs, onboarding suppliers, managing the performance of suppliers with KPIs and so on, managing the compliance. If you have a contract, what could be the risk where the supplier could miss on some compliance activities, you could look at that as well. On more operational procurement, drafting purchase requests and auto creating the POs based on the PRs, right? So you could have that workflow. You could have AI guides, right? This is more than just prompting, but you could have, as I said, the AI orchestration or AI guided buying. You could have those elements there. Auto renew contracts in many cases. Then you could also implement it on inventory management and warehousing. So some of the inputs about optimizing inventory, you could get ideas around how to optimize inventory, how much safety stock do I keep for such and such a product, for such and such a market, what's the reorder point that could be the most optimized one, and so on. Okay, so a lot about optimization in inventory management and warehousing. And of course, you could have logistics and supply chains recommendation of optimizing shipments and adhering to compliance with customs and duties and all the tariffs that we have and so on and so forth, effectively optimizing load planning as well. Okay, so this is just to give you a detail on plenty of cases where in the procurement life cycle, you could use a lot of, you could have a lot of benefits by using GenAI. Okay, we talked only about Gen AI and prompting, but of course there are now you have agentic AIs that can help you automate the workflows, do tasks for you, and so on. So, but we're not going to get into those details here as of now. Okay, here we are just largely talking about Gen AI and how a good prompt can help you to get these answers to a lot of these questions that we have seen here. Okay. All right, so this is just to give you the examples where it can be applicable. Moving on, we are going to look at a little bit more detail on prompting. Okay, a little bit more detail on prompting. So I guess a lot of you already use prompts. Okay, some of you are already using it, maybe some aren't, but we're going to look at some examples. Okay, some examples, and we will do it live just to test a little bit to see how it works. Okay, but first I'm going to share with you some examples and some methodologies, or let's say a big roadmap, or not a roadmap, but a framework, or what are some of the key pillars of writing a good prompt, okay, in order to get good answers. All right, there's nothing complex. You just need to keep trying, and you will see eventually that you will improve very, very quickly. So let's look at prompting. Okay, I've just made an analogy here to make it simpler to understand, an analogy between a child's request and an AI prompt. Okay, so you can see now it's fairly straightforward. Let's say a child says milk. Okay, they just point out to the word and say, hoping that you understand. Okay, milk. Now, this is somebody who is a AI prompt beginner. Report, want to report, or just say report. Okay, so expecting that the AI to magically know what they want, this can become challenging. Not the best of prompts, as you can see, right? As the child evolves, the child says, want milk. Okay, so at least that the child is wanting milk. It is still a bit vague. We don't know a few particularities of it, but you know that the child wants milk. So the AI prompter learner here, from beginner, it's advanced to learner, where it says, write a report about business. Okay, so there's a report, write a report about business. It's still unclear what aspects, how long, formal, informal, which areas, etc., etc. Not clear, but at least better than the 0th stage. Then the child gets better, right? It gives more details. It says, I want a glass of cold milk. Okay, much better than milk, want milk, right? It says, I want a glass of cold milk. So now you know exactly what they want, right? So similarly, the AI prompt advanced learner would write a prompt which says, write a 500-word report on business ethics, focusing on real world case studies, right? So here you're being a little bit more specific. There are more details, right? The AI is going to give you much better results, right? You're talking about a 500 word, you're giving some limitations, it's about business ethics and focusing on real world case studies. So it can pick up some case studies. You don't know which case studies as of now. You can pick up some case studies, but the AI now knows what to deliver in a better way, right? Let's go further even. So this is a little bit more advanced, right? Where the child can ask, can I have a glass of cold milk now in my blue cup, please? Okay, I've added please to be a bit more polite. The same way with you could do that with the AI as well, right? So they can have so they here they are very specifying exactly how they want it and when they want it. So it's a little bit more detail than the case two here. So the AI prompt expert would probably generate a 500 word report, right? So you have using write, generate, all action verbs, right? Generate a 500 word report on business ethics using Enron and Volkswagen as case studies. So you're also giving very specific examples. Use a formal tone suitable for executives. So maybe you're creating a kind of a report where you want to present it to the management. So use a formal tone in a certain manner, suitable for executives, right? So you can see how the child has graduated from just saying milk to can I have a glass of cold milk now in my blue club, please? It's much more specific, more clear. The AI prompter can also move from beginner to expert in a fairly quick time. Okay, so it's just to give you an analogy between how the prompts can be improved. Okay, we are going to see a little bit more examples around these, right? So effectively, what's a prompt? Prompt is nothing but an input that produces a desired output. The better the input, the better the output, right? So we know that very classical phrase in data when you say if you have a bad data that gets in, you're going to get bad data that gets out. So garbage in, garbage out. I know that's what we keep saying. So similarly, you have a good input, it's going to produce a better output. All right, so that's what we say. This is an example here. Please, I wrote a simple prompt here which says, please generate an image that says AI is like a car, data is like the fuel, and prompts is like the steering wheel. Okay, and this is what it gave me. Okay, nice little car here. So it says AI is like a car, data is like the fuel, and prompts are like the steering wheel. Okay, so writing good prompts can guide the car to your destination, where you want to go. So if you want to go in a particular direction, you need to have the steering wheel. So if you have a good steering wheel with the right steering capacity, then it's going to guide you to the right destination. So that's about writing good prompts. Okay, some of the pillars. So this is what I talked about. Some of the pillars or building blocks of a well-constructed prompt. Okay, in a well-constructed prompt, there are 5 pillars. We'll go through these 5 pillars quickly. There is clarity and specificity. Okay, there is context setting. You could set up the context to give a little bit more information to the AI. Iteration, you could use one prompt and build another prompt on top of it. Formatting requests. All right, you could have like I said, 500 word. So it's giving a little bit of a structure and format, and then you could give constraints and some specific instructions. You could have some specific constraints as well, so that you limit some of the scope that the results contain. Right. So let's look at some examples here. Let's look at clarity and specificity. So one of the examples I've done every time a bad prompt, a good prompt, or an improvement of the prompt. So here is one example. Tell me about procurement. This is a very ambiguous kind of a prompt. So the good prompt would be explain procurement process, detail each step of the process of the procure to pay cycle. Okay, detail each step of the process of the procurement to pay cycle. So it is giving you very specifically, explain me the process, but we are going to look for more specifically the procure to pay cycle, right? Rather than tell me about procurement, because here you could have a very vague answer with a lot of generics. Here you get a little bit more concrete. So it's more clear and specific. Okay, that's the first pillar. The second one is context setting. So it talks about write a story about AI. That's a prompt. Okay, write a story about AI. Here you're giving it some context. So write a 300 words. You're also putting some constraints. Short story for the children aged 7 to 8. So this is a context that you're giving. So the AI knows that on an average, Now it's again very different. A child who is aged 7 in one country can be different from a child who is age 7 in another country, or in different there could be multiple variations to this, but in general it knows, it averages out that this is for a child age 7 or 8, and this is about an AI that hallucinates. So it could create a short story which is around 300 words for children aged between 7 and 8 about an AI that hallucinates. So it's a little bit more context given that it is for a specific audience, and you have to generate a story. Okay, so first is about clarity, then about context setting. Then you can have iterations, right? So you could have one prompt. You could start off with a general question, analyze the response, and then create a new prompt for better results. So you could say, earlier we said, write, explain the procurement process, detail each step, etc., etc. Now you can use the same, right, and refine the prompt. Right? Maybe you get some results. Let's say, okay, you are not very pleased with the results, so you refine the prompt. Explain the procurement process in steps, each step of the procurement process, etc. Detail the roles of buyers and the roles of stakeholders who own the need. So you can go a little bit more in detail. It's about iteration, using the old prompt, refining the prompt. Now, in most AIs, when you're writing a prompt and you're writing the improved prompt or refined prompt in the same session, right? In the same session, it maintains the history, right? You can also refer to what was asked before. So you have a prompt, you can write on the prompt as referring to the previous, right? So you could use that as a part of your refined prompt as well. Okay, so that's about iteration. Then the next one is formatting requests. So you could format it in various ways. So here we are talking about a bad prompt is how to address bottleneck suppliers, let's say. So here, instead of this, you could ask for output in specific formats. Build a table with 10 levers for addressing bottleneck suppliers. Okay, so, or you could also define the column. So if you'd also define the columns of the table. So I want in column 1, the lever. I want in column 2, a brief description of the lever. In column 3, some of the advantages that you will have with this. Column 4, some of the risks that can also arise with this, etc. Right? So you could also build that in a structured fashion. It's going to give you quickly results of 10 results, 10 levers, 20 levers. So it gets more creative as and when you give more and more ideas. Of course, they can be repetitive later on, but you can focus on the top 10. Just as an example, again, you can format these requests. Okay. And then you have the last one, you have constraints. So you could give the constraints. Again, we talked about it, but the constraints are all instead of saying explain quantum computing, you can give explain quantum computing to a 7th grade student. Again, it's a little bit of a constraint, a context setting as well. And the constraint here is of 200 words, right? So you're limiting, you're putting a ring around it, saying that I don't want to go too much of blah, blah, but I want to restrict for the article to be 200 words. Okay, right. So this is what some of the pillars, and we'll see some examples and some good practices. You could also assign roles. Some other support elements I wrote it. You could also assign roles and persona. Okay, saying you are an expert of XYZ, and you could assign rules to the AI. Okay, you could also specify the perspective, or some specific events. For example, the case study of using Enron or Volkswagen, it is giving a very specific context of a company, and you're talking about writing a report on business ethics based on those case studies, right? So you can give some very specific perspective on that. You could outline the expected tone, as I said, for executives or for children aged 7 or 8, or you could give the tone and the communication style as well. You could also use that in formatting. So you can use all these pillars in mix it, and come up with a good prompt. There's an example given here. So some of the, let's say, some of the good practices here is using persona, referring to events, and providing sources. I use this all the time. I ask the AI to provide sources. Okay, so where did you get this information from? So it always provides me sources, and now it knows my history. So it always provides sources for any new prompt that I write. Most of the cases, this is what it does. So you can ask for providing sources, and you can then go and check for these sources. This can also be one of the ways that you avoid hallucination, as I said. So while the AI hallucinates, you know which one is the right data to pick, which one is to eliminate, because the sources are there, especially if it is doing a web search. Right. So don't try to overcomplicate instructions. You can break them down in steps. You could do that. Then, of course, do not micromanage. Let the AI do that. You don't have to give very, very specific, like you have the micromanagement. Don't have to give and get into too many details. The AI can do that for you. And avoid biased language. Okay, so this is sometimes challenging. We are talking largely about very simple examples, like you could say, tell me this about mankind. Instead of mankind, you could use humanity. So there's a gender bias that we have, right? So there could be biases on culture, there could be countries and so on. Try to make it as neutral as possible. Okay, right. This is a example of a well-constructed prompt. Tell me about supplier risk. Okay, instead of that, now this is the combination of all the good practices that we have seen, right? You are a procurement analyst, so you're assigning a persona, or you are a data analyst. It's going to give a very different answer if you're a procurement analyst versus a data analyst. Or you could also say you are a credit risk specialist, right? So as and when you assign the right persona, the answers can be different. You can try it using 3 or 4 varieties if you want. If you say you are an ESG specialist, it's again going to give a different risk. But here we are saying just as an example, you're a procurement analyst assessing supplier risk. Analyze the financial and operational and compliance risk. So here I'm being very specific. Okay, analyze the financial, operational, and compliance risk of some supplier based on the past 12 months of data. See attached file. So you can attach files to this. Now, if your company already has an internal AI tool, of course, there's a security. Everything will be taken care of by your IT team, so you don't need to worry about security. If you're using a free model of an AI or Chat GPT online, or then you need to be a little bit careful of putting in companies' information on this and on this open source. So just be a little bit careful about what you want to share. Okay, what data you want to share. But you can attach files. You can send it reports so that the AI analyzes the reports and then provides the outputs based on the input. Okay, so here you have past 12 months of data. Provide a structured response with 3 bullet points per risk category. So I'm also trying to give some constraints, 3 bullet points, not much. I'm giving a specific instruction. And in the formatting, I'm also using a formal tone and keep the explanation under 200 words. Okay, so this way you're going to get a very solid, good report rather than just asking, tell me about supplier risk. Okay, or tell me about supplier risk with this supplier. So now you know exactly specifically. So it's an art to ask the right question. And if we ask the right question with the prompt, you are more likely to get better and better answers. And you can keep improving. You can keep improving. If you're not happy with the answer, if you're not happy with the the output effectively, you can reiterate your inputs, and then you can see you get better and better answers. Okay. All right, so just some good practices here. I've just highlighted 3 or 4, and then we can quickly check. So here you have help me build a table. So you can ask for tables. I told you about tables. Help me build a table that can identify levers of decarbonation. Let's say in the transportation of goods at your company. So it's giving me some ideas. You could look for supplier fleet electrification, what it can do, how much is the estimated reduction in potential of CO2, etc. You can write details. Supplier use of biofuels, operational efficiency, and so on. So there are some ideas that it is, and then you can see what are relevant to your industry. So you can also you're being more creative. It's helping you to be more creative. Okay, it's helping you to be more creative by just providing options, providing ideas or choices. All right. So you could create tables. You could associate tools with prompts. This is an example here. So this is an example of a total cost of ownership model. that we use at EIPM. Okay, so you could use this model to say that you're a specialist of product X and expert in cost analysis. Use the attached list. Okay, use the attached document. So this is the document, and analyze some of the, and analyze the costs that are impacted for certain product. Here, emergency exit signs is the product. Okay, so it's going to use this as an input and provide the costs drivers and the costs that are impacted in this particular model. Okay, so you can associate tools also with prompts if you're looking for specific. So let's say you are in a process of developing a cost breakdown for a supplier who is providing you some product or service, and you have some basic model of a cost breakdown, or you can also ask the AI to give a cost breakdown, then use that tool itself to apply it on this particular supplier. Okay, so on the product of the supplier that is giving you. So you can do it in two phases, right? But the idea here is you can associate tools with prompts. Okay, then you can iterate to create more specific. You can in fact ask the AI by giving a simple prompt, okay, to help improve the prompt itself. Okay, so let's say your company buys blah 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 in Europe. Identify the cost drivers. So you can run this prompt. This will help you pre-screen parameters. Then you can ask the AI can you create a better prompt for this? Okay, so the AI will suggest you a prompt, and then you can use that prompt to get a better answer. Okay, I'm just going to share. I'm just going to run. So this is an example here. This one was enriched using a prompt. Okay, so this is the prompt that we have finally. This was an input. So I won't get into too many details of this, but let's take an example here. Okay, live. I hope it's going to work. I'm doing this live. Can somebody suggest in the chat? I'm just going to open the chat here and reshare my screen. 1 second. Can somebody suggest in the chat of a simple example? Simple example of a prompt that you want to run. Let's any simple example of a prompt that you would like to run. Okay, we'll use that and we will run it together. Yeah, anyone? Okay, we'll just wait for a few seconds. Otherwise, I can take a simple example, but I'm just taking it live from you guys. If you want to create a particular prompt. Okay, I'm going to go back and seasonal procurement. Can you please oh, sorry, hold on 1 second. Okay, getting some ideas now. Hold on. I'm just going to look. I want to understand the broadcast. Okay, please write an award criteria related to the diversity of the team to be proposed. Write an award criteria related to the diversity. Okay, let's take that as an example. Seasonal procurement also. Let's look at that as well. Okay, I'm just going to write the award criteria, and then let's look at seasonal procurement also. Okay. So I'm just going to share my screen again. So I'm just taking this. This was by Julie. Thank you, Julie, for this. Okay, so let's look at this. I'm just pasting this here. Please write an award criteria related. So this is a chat GPT, simple chat GPT that I'm using. Please write an award criteria related to the diversity of the team. So let's just see. I'm just putting it as is. Okay, here is an award criteria focused on team diversity, suitable for use in procurement or grant evaluation. Okay, so because I think the history tells you, so award criteria, team diversity and inclusion, weight, objectives. It gives you certain results. Okay, now what I'm going to do is just this. If you want to write improve, you can write, as I said, I'm just going to copy this, okay, and say, can you improve this prompt? Can you improve this prompt? Okay, and I'm just going to paste this. If you want to, you can give further context in for the US or for another country. You can give some specific details about this. But can you improve this prompt? Just like that. I'm just going to give you as it is. Okay. And let's see what it can do. So it's also giving you more detailed and clear prompt could be, please draft or develop an award criteria for this for any specific one. It can be focused on some practical, and then you can use that one. Okay, I'm just going to use it. Please draft an award criteria that evaluates diversity, inclusivity, etc., including aspects such as gender, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm going to use this prompt itself and paste it here. And then you can see it's going to certainly, and then you have award criteria, team diversity, inclusion. It is giving different evaluation criteria, scoring guide, and so on and so forth. Okay, so it's an important aspect that if you're not very much comfortable in writing prompts initially, you can use the AI to help you write better prompts. Okay, this is what I meant by I wanted to share that with you. That'll motivate effectively, even if you're not very familiar or not very comfortable, you could do that very, very quickly. Okay, you can see here, and then you can look at the details. You can build further. It usually ends like this. Let me know if you adapted specifically for EU directives, US federal guidelines. As I said, you could use for geography wise, you could use for a particular sector, maybe construction, the diversity, or some other things are important and so on. The other one was seasonal procurement. Okay. So the best option is to just create a new window here. So we can do that. Okay, there was something on seasonal procurement. Okay, seasonal procurement. If I just say seasonal procurement, it probably might give you just some definitions. Here is the breakdown, etc. Forecast, inventory planning, what you should do. Most of my prompts are related to procurement, so it's already giving me. It learns my history and it is giving me some information. Now we can say, can you improve the prompt? Can you improve this prompt? And I'm just going to say seasonal procurement. Oops, sorry. Okay, so it can tell you what it probably will give you what exactly you want to ask. So improve the prompt. So it's going to give you, if you're searching or learning for this, you could have a more specific information. What are the best practices? If you're building training, create a case study on this. Or if you're solving an operational problem, you're doing that. Let's say if you want to solve an operational problems. So he says, how can we secure supply capacity and stable prices for seasonal procurement needs? Maybe if this is what you want, and you just put that as a part of the problem. Yeah. So then you have what you could do. You could do demand forecasting. You could do supplier collaboration, contracting stability, and so on and so forth. So this is what I'm showing you, that it can be used to also help you to write prompts as well if you're not very much comfortable in the first. And then of course then you'll see that you can improve. Usually it always ends with do you want something more? Do you want something specific? Do you want a clause, let's say a specific contract clause to cover the seasonality, and so on and so forth. So you could also use that further to build the prompts. Okay, I hope that helps you to tell you very quickly some of the practices that you can use. All right. Okay. This is another example. I won't go into, but you will have this content with you. I won't go into too many details of this, but you could use again. These are some other use cases. Supplier, you could use this for supplier negotiation. Instead of saying give me negotiation tips. It's a very broad, very generic example. Instead of saying give me negotiation tips, you could go for a bit more details. You can say act as a procurement expert, negotiating bulk purchases of surgical gloves, the product, bulk purchases, provide strategies to reduce costs while ensuring supplier reliability. So that you could have that. You can use that for negotiation. You could also do multi-step prompting. As you see here, step 1, do this, then go to step 2. You could use it for contract management. Instead of saying summarize the contract, you can ask something specific. Risk assessment that you said, cost breakdown. Yeah. Instead of saying give me cost analysis, if you're looking at break down the total cost of procuring stainless steel components into raw materials, costs, labor, logistics, overhead. So it's going to give you a very specific breakdown of all this. You could also help, as I said, you can use these prompts to help to ask the AI to give you better prompts even, and then use that prompts to get the answers. This is what we have also seen just now. Okay, so plenty of use cases. So procurement, I think there was one comment or question to ask how it has helped you, how AI has helped you for procurement. And to be frank, I've seen more and more people now using Gen AI to get the, so you have to be careful. As I said, it hallucinates. Some people also debate whether, it kills your own creativity. I think it can augment your creativity. At this stage, it can give you options if you're uh, blocked, if you reach a dead end, etc. It can augment. So personally, and also at EIPM, we also encourage to use AI in a very intelligent fashion so that it can help you improve. For me, during a week, I use AI quite regularly, and it certainly saves me a good 3-4 hours every week. Okay, on various tasks, and then we can use that, and you can see cumulatively it can save you a lot of time. You can use that time to do something else. Okay, all right, so this is just to that was the idea. Some good practices, some prompts. We have seen also some examples from yourself how it can improve. As a conclusion, I would say the effective prompts have to be clear, specific, giving the context. We have seen those pillars, right? You can iterate and refine to get better responses. Some of the constraints and formatting to make it actionable. You don't have to give prompt for the sake of doing it. You can ask for really actionable points, or points that any suggestions that are really actionable and usable. And of course, practice is essential. So try out. Really would encourage you to try out as much as possible the prompts and learn from your own mistakes. Okay, learn from your own mistakes. So that's what I wanted to share with you. The last part is about when you get the responses, have a critical view. Okay, as I said, AI can hallucinate. Don't believe, you don't have to believe everything 100%. Sometimes it can hallucinate and provide you answers which might sound plausible but not necessarily true. So in the beginning, what you could do is you could check for relevance, accuracy. Does it really answer your question? Is the information factually correct, up to date? You can check it. Look for completeness. Look for biases and objectivity. Okay. You could also look for an overall impact. Does it really provide you value or insight? The time that you spend in asking something, whether it provides you value and insights. If there are some specific questions regarding legal or finance or some technical aspects, or ESG, you could also ask your colleagues and other stakeholders who are specialized in this to see whether the answers that, and then verify it. And over a period of time, as and when you keep improving the prompts, you'll get better and better answers. So the critical thinking, the human part of it is very important. You don't have to blindly believe everything. Okay, that is something which we always recommend. You get the answers. Be curious. Get the good prompts. Write good prompts. Get the answers, but also think critically next. Okay, think critically next, and that can help you improve. That can also help the AI model improve based on your historical responses questions that you have asked. Okay. All right, very good. So that was a quick overview about AI, Gen AI. This is what I wanted to, oops, sorry. AI, Gen AI in procurement, different areas in which it can be applied, and some of the practices that we have seen in prompting. Okay, so let me just open the floor now for questions. There are some questions. Oh, okay, I've got some questions now. You can try it out. I have seen Frederic. What is the definition of tail spend? Amount of spend for procurement professionals. Okay. This is a good one, Eric Dion. Yes, act like a telecom category buyer. Okay, telecom category. Eric, we met very recently, I think, if I remember well. Yeah, and produce a standard TCO cost breakdown analysis based on best practices. Very good. That's a good code. You can also use. You can, if you want to upload some information as part of the best practice, you could also do that. Desh, will you be sharing the recording? Yes, of course. Yeah, I'll be sharing. Eric will be sharing the recording. It will be put up on our EIPM channels. Okay. summarize the impact of the new tariffs for the aluminum goods from China. Very good. This is good. So from China to US, it can give you some recommendations. Here, the only thing is you need to be careful about the latest information. As you know, the information is changing quite frequently. I don't want to get into the politics of it, but the information is changing quite rapidly. So you also need to be very careful. I tried that just yesterday about tariffs, and on the 9th of April, when the new tariffs came in on China, it could change again. And today you see again the tariffs have changed. There's a 90-day pause and so on. So with the latest news, you need to be a little bit careful, okay, because the AI might not be updated with the latest information yet. Okay. Our company policy prevents from inputting confidential information and personal data into AI. What would be your thoughts to navigate this concern? That's a good question, Nicola. So if you have an internal, first of all, we had this similar issue with other companies as well. If you have an internal AI built in by your, technical team and IT, most of the time the confidentiality and data security part is taken care of because it's an internal universe, right? But if you're using a very, like what I did just now, open chat gpt, it's not even the pro version, it's the simplest of versions. There definitely I would recommend you not to put confidential information. Okay, not to give any confidential information. You can probably generalize it or neutralize it, take off the name of your company, take off the name of, if there's some specific supplier, you can give the attributes of the supplier, but maybe create a fictional name. So these are some of the constraints that you can work around with if you're using the non-secure open channel for like open GPT, chat GPT, and so on. However, if you have something internally in your organization, this is usually curated and vetted, and then you have secured data, and data security is assured in this case, if you're using an internal company AI. Okay, this is what we were doing yesterday and day before also with one of the companies. They have developed their own internal systems where they can upload the company documents. They already have their company policies uploaded. They can also, the users can use their upload their company documents, which is all in a secured environment. So if it is that, then it's usually not a problem. For outside, I would hesitate to do that or neutralize and then use it. Okay, this is what I've done previously as well. Yeah, this is again about protection. Again, the same, if you have internally, externally, I want to learn more about prompting. Where can I learn more about it? Yeah, so in terms of prompting, I have done a course myself before for prompt engineering and so on. There are some courses available. You could also, join one of these webinars like this, or we have at EIPM also, we do a very specific theme on promptathons. So you could do that, or practice, just practice, learn about it. The context is there, the key pillars are there. It's very, very simple. Again, as I said, it's not necessarily a hardcore engineering skill. The curious you are, you will learn automatically. Believe me, Malki, yeah, believe me, you don't need to go and spend a lot of money for very expensive courses. I would recommend that the more curious you are, you keep practicing. You can do it with the free versions, right? You don't need to necessarily go for something very specific. So keep practicing, be curious, and then you're going to improve your prompt skills. It's going to come very quickly, like the child learned from milk to by being more specific. This is going to come to you very quickly. Okay, all right. Just looking at yeah. So Eric, thank you for putting that data as well. Okay. All right. Any other things? I think we are just 1 minute. There are still some questions pouring in. Sorry. I can take that if there are some specific ones that I see when Eric sends you across the responses tomorrow. The summary tomorrow with the link to the recording as well as the content that I just shared. He's going to share that. If there are some open questions left, I can answer that. Okay. All right. Wow. Okay. Updating sessions, etc. Okay. All right. In terms of time, we are running out. So thank you very much for your time. If there are some open questions, as I said, Eric, we will connect later, okay? And we will look at the open questions because of the time restrictions, and I'm going to answer that in the email. All right. Very good. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. That's it then. Thank you very much. And I hope to see you in one of the other webinars that we have, or if we cross paths, that'll be great. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye then.